Come on, Kenner. I just saw it leave the garage in the cartoon, yet I can't do it here. Would it have killed you to make the door 6 inches taller? Hey everybody, it's Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and this is Behind the Mask. So, when M.A.S.K turned 30 in 2015, I put out a list of top 30 mask sets based on my opinion. And looking back, the list still makes sense, but I kind of want to do something a little different with a ranking system. When M.A.S.K came out, they were released in different series and sets. You know, when we were younger, we pretty much only had Series 1, you know, Firecracker, Thunderhawk, Condor, Gator, etc. And Series 2, we dabbled in that, but a lot of us in the United States didn't really have much of Series 3, the racing series, or split second series, Series 4. And there was a whole, we had the adventure packs too, but there was a whole other side of the adventure packs that we never saw, which was only released overseas, and vice versa. So I want to take a look at each series and rank them based on my opinion, and you can agree or disagree with it, but it's only an opinion. It won't change the world, but it'll kind of give you an idea of how I feel about them. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be biased towards certain items, but again, that's my opinion, and yeah, hopefully I don't offend anybody. But with that being said, let's take a look at the Series 1 set that most of us had when we were younger, and we'll start there. Now, there were 9 items produced in this series / set, and I can't do a top 10 on it, but I'll do a top 9. So let's start at number 9. Now, with any ranking system, obviously people are going to agree and disagree on things, but just to get it out there initially, there really wasn't an overall bad item in the first series. They were all well done, some more simplistic than others, but the mechanisms seem to really hold up even 33 years later on most, and they're just not really that bad of a line. It's by far, I think, the most well put together of all the lines. Is the best though? That's for you to decide. So we're going to start with Jackhammer. Now, there's a couple reasons why I never really liked Jackhammer. I talked about simplistic, and I like the vehicle. I like Cliff Dagger, but I didn't like it as a toy. I don't know what it was. Maybe because it was all black. Here's Cliff Dagger here, and if you want to see, obviously we know with Series 1 they had the smaller mask, which you see here, and then they had the larger ones to kind of keep the mask on the figures a little better, and to also reduce the choking hazard. It's not much of a difference, so yeah, you're still going to choke on them if you put them in your mouth and try to swallow it. But anyway, the Jackhammer for me, maybe because it was all black, it's hard for me to say why I put it where it is, but out of when I look at all this stuff together in a grouping, that's just where it falls for me. The My jackhammer isn't in great condition. It looks okay on the outside, but the mechanism doesn't really work that well. So I'm pushing down here, and the turret's supposed to pop up. So let's see if I can force it out here. So part of it is there's a piece here that helps push the turret up. And here you would have a little gun that you would put on the turret. And that for me was part of it too. Where does the gun go when you're not using it? You put it in the cab, I guess, with Cliff, right? And this would get lost. This was probably one of the most lost pieces out of all the sets. So I think it was kind of well, like not planned well. The front will come up here, turn to a tank, and as you turn the front wheels, the guns would turn here in the front, or not turn, but kind of pop in and out, the simulated shooting. So that's actually pretty ingenious. But for me, like I said, with the gun being easily lost, and it just kind of didn't really have much of an appeal. When you consider the brightly colored items here, I think that's where it falls. Why it falls. Where it is. Get in there, you bastard. That's the best it's getting. Maybe it's time for me to get another one. Now, next, this is a hard one for me because the figures are one of my favorites out of the entire toy line. But the mechanism on this really stopped working for me. Gator. Dusty's figures, one of my favorites out of the entire line. But with thinner plastic from these series, it breaks very easily. Now I can't knock that. They had to make the scale somehow, and it just so happens that there's no frame here. That's just what it is. Comes with a depth charge. You flip it and pops it out, and there's a gun missing here. Not as easy to lose as the one on Jackhammer, but still easy to lose. And mine doesn't really work anymore. You press these two buttons here back, and when you do that, Gator, the boat shoots out, and that's it. Simplistic, and just didn't hold up well over time. That's why it is where it is. Simplistic is the theme of the ones I'm talking about right now. And that would be Firecracker. So while it has some cool accessories to it, the bike hangs off the back here, and the tire shoots off when you press that button in on the side. I'm not going to do it because it'll fly somewhere and knock something over. But comes with Hondo. Hard to smash the find in the small version. If you can't find one and you want to complete a figure set, get the larger one and cut it as close as you can to the sides. It's a tip. Don't try to sell it though as a small mask. That's a jerk move. So please don't do that. Now, this is one of the most simplistic changes out of all the vehicles in M.A.S.K. Pretty much all it does is go up. There's a button here on the side. You press it. That's it. That's what it does. It's hard to talk about because that's what it does. That's it. Yeah, I don't know how much to say about it. Other than the fact that it's my favorite color, orange. Yeah, that's it. That's why it falls where it falls. See if I can get it back down. There we go. This is actually one of my most complete loose figure, not figures, vehicles. It's hard to find the clasp that the bike goes on because nobody wanted to play with that. They wanted the truck when they were younger. Now next, I talked about brittle parts. Piranha is pretty well known for that. Now the scale on this, it's great. They did a great job on this. But with the Slyrax figure, one of the better figures of the series too, a lot of detail on him. For as small as this is, it had a couple of fundamental problems. One being that out of all the collections I see people posting, I rarely see this shield. I don't have an explanation why we wouldn't keep that, because, you know, he needs to keep the bugs out of his face if he's not wearing his mask, right? But a lot of people didn't keep it. It's odd. And the handlebars, get in here. The handlebars are so thin that a lot of them break. So it's hard to find them with the handlebars intact too. So if you can find it, get it. The jet pops off, not the jet, the pod. You press this button in on the back, and it actually has good distance when it comes off. So it still holds up. It's just a simple push down mechanism that pops it off there. And I'm showing you this one here because not all of them are visible, so that's why I'm just getting a zoom in on that one. But yeah, if it wasn't as brittle as it is, I would rank it higher, just because I always liked Piranha. Now this next one here might surprise people with what we're looking at. What's left here? We have Condor, we have Boulder Hill, we have Rhino, Switchblade, and a Thunderhawk, autographed by Doug Stone. It didn't come that way, by the way. Yeah, so don't expect to buy one and see it that way. So. Now, the reason why I'm ranking this one where it is because the mechanisms in it, and I see it all over the place, it's not just mine, don't hold up. Some do in it, but most of it doesn't. And if you haven't guessed yet, that is Switchblade. Now, one of my favorite vehicles, favorite toys out of it. I probably picked this more so just because it was a helicopter that turned into a jet when I was younger. But mine, not only does the canopy get brittle with this one, a lot of these break, especially on the clasp part. But a lot of these canopies crack. You lose this missile all the time. It's hard to find this missile. And you know, the wings, the mechanism on it, and it's pretty fundamental. If you're a helicopter that turns into an airplane, this part should stay intact, but it doesn't. This is most commonly what breaks on this. Not just 33 years later, but when we were kids. The wings don't stay intact. Mine are actually taped down, but the helicopter part still works. You know, this comes up here. When it goes into jet mode, I can't pop the wings out because I don't feel like retaping it. But when you go into helicopter mode, you flip this down, you flip that over, and then you can turn it. There's a button you're supposed to press. My mechanism doesn't stay down, and that's part of what I'm talking about. So my helicopter mechanism, when you push it in, doesn't stay in. And it's commonplace with the Switchblade. But then when you turn it, You know, there's a helicopter. So it would rank higher if it held together better when we were younger. And of course, we all know this comes with Miles Mayhem. Now, Miles for me, I didn't like love his figure. Detail's great, but I don't know what it was about him. It wasn't always the vehicle I loved, but I just didn't really like his figure. I don't know why. But yeah, so if it held together better, it'd be, I think, top 3. Now next, we have a tough decision, but with what's left, you can kind of guess where I'm going with it. That's Condor. Now, the thing that's interesting about Condor, well, it's probably top 3 simplistic changes in the entire toy line. Comes with Brad Turner, and everybody loved Brad. He rides a motorcycle, turns into a helicopter, and he's a rock band. The transformation on this, it's pretty simple. You flip the helicopter part up, their knees up, and that's it. Not just because it was simplistic. The simplistic change on this is actually well done. I mean, there's not much else you could do with this to make it work the way it does. But another thing that's interesting about it is that I find that when people talk to me about M.A.S.K, they reference Condor more than they reference anything else, because probably one big factor, it was the least, well, not least, but one of the most least expensive out of the series. I think Piranha and Condor were probably the same price. I don't remember exactly. I do have some old booklets that I can look up, but that's another day. So you had this. It was easier to obtain than the Thunderhawk, the Rhino, Boulder Hill especially. And for that reason, it was one of the most widely collected and kept out of the series. Didn't really break, held together pretty well. It seemed like this was better reinforced, even though these are thin pieces on the landing part here. It held together well, better than Piranha. And for those reasons, that's why it ranks where it is. So now we're getting to a hard decision, because what we see left here, people can argue that these 3 things are the 3 best things out of the entire toy line. You can argue it. So it makes it hard to decide. So you have Rhino left, you know, Boulder Hill, and Thunderhawk. And for me, I'm going to place Rhino at this point. Now, when people start recollecting, this is usually what they target first. It's either this, Thunderhawk, or Condor, because they have fond memories of those 3 items. It holds up well. Parts break off as easily. The rear view mirrors are always broken. It's hard to find this antenna intact on top, and a lot of this silver that's now not silver on my Rhino would easily break as well. Maybe it was the paint that did it. It kind of made it really brittle and hard over time, but the transformation on it still holds up pretty well. And of course, this one came with 2 figures. We have Brusado with his lifter mask, and Matt-Trakker with Ultra Flash. It was interesting that they put out 2 Matt-Trakkers in the first series, but I'm not going to argue. I was not upset by that when I was younger. The transformation, you kind of... See if I can do this without anything breaking off. So that shoots off. And there's a button here on the back that shoots out the ejector seat on the side here. And this opens up to reveal a little command center. So it was essentially a mobile base. The missile shoots. There are different variations of the missile. Some are gray, some are black. And this pulls off, but I'm not going to pull it because it's been a long time since I've done it. So I don't want to risk breaking it. But yeah, it holds up well. It's one of the most widely collected and sought after for people that are recollecting, or even just want a small collection. Rhino is usually something that they go for. Oh. Now number 2, I would probably rank this number 1 if 2 reasons. The scale was correct and it held up better over time, and that is Boulder Hill. I'm not going to pick it up because I can't put it in the shot. Why not? Let's do it anyway. I wonder what's going to be number 1. Stay tuned for that. But Boulder Hill, it was very creative. Mine's not in the best shape in the world, but I'm missing the hoses that are here attached to there, to the gas pumps. My roof is bowing in. You can see it kind of tilting inward. And it's just kind of hard to keep the plastic parts down on the base. Rock pops off here when you so when you press this blue thing, you turn it, rock pops up, and then you get the gun turret. Got the jail cell that falls in, the trap door here. Sorry, it's awkward. And then, the little gun here, you turn it, and it's supposed to open up. There it goes. And it flips down and turns into defense mode. I'm going to try to do it. I don't know how well it's going to work. Like I said, mine doesn't hold up too well now anymore. Oh, garage door fell. Get that out of the way. Let's see if I can get this. There. And then, I forgot there's a lever back here that controls the turrets here. This part doesn't stay on anymore for mine. It flips this part down. Let's see if I can get it. There it is. That's Boulder Hill, defense mode. Elaborate. It would definitely rank higher for me if it held together and the scale was correct. And you're wondering what I mean by scale. Well, try to get your Rhino out the door. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. And the figures that it comes with, 2. You got Buddy Hawks and Alex Sector. Now the weird thing is that Alex was pretty much always in Rhino. So you maybe would have thought he would have, come with that, but 2 Matt-Trakkers. So now we've went through all of them except for one, and I bet you couldn't guess this, but Thunderhawk is my favorite out of the series. My Thunderhawk is almost complete. I'm missing one of the bombs here on the bottom, and Mine has some customization to it. It's autographed by Doug Stone. There you go. And comes with one of my favorite figures out of the entire series. This guy. Matt-Trakker. Now, the Thunderhawk, aside from Rhino and Condor, I think this is what people remember the most. And Rhino's easy to remember because it's in the logo here. Condor's easy to remember because a lot of people had it. The Thunderhawk was the vehicle of, the main hero. And the mechanism on this does everything for you. Well, it's supposed to anyway. But it doesn't hold up well. If you can find one that you can get where the mechanism works and pops it out every time, definitely get it. I'm going to press the button in and see what we get. It's been a long time since I've done this, so the wings might flop down or they might shoot up correctly. So let's find out. Didn't work well. Even though it doesn't work for me well anymore, it doesn't matter. That's just because it's my favorite and it's autographed by Doug. If it wasn't autographed by Doug, I'd still love it the same. You got the rocket boosters on the back there that become exposed. Tail fin goes up and the doors come up. So, yeah, that's my favorite out of the series. You can agree or disagree, but you won't change my mind. But I'd love to hear what your favorites are out of the series. So, if you have something that you'd like to make a case for, or just tell me what your top one is, I'd love to hear it. Post in the comments and let me know. That's Series 1. It's one of the best cartoon / toy series that I could ever think of. Just the detail, the complexity, and the simplicity make it worthwhile. And if you're just going to try to collect something, you don't want to get everything because obviously it's expensive. Series 1 is a good bet. Boulder Hill, it's hard to find intact. It's also hard to display. But everything else is doable. So, yeah. Can't think of anything else that would hinder it. You know what's missing from this set? Gloria Baker and Shark. I talked about that before, but they missed a big opportunity right here to run with that vehicle. It's the flaw that would repeat itself throughout the entire toy line. And we'll learn more about that later. But that's my only gripe with this line, is the absence of that. And again, if anybody from Kenner worked on these and there's a reason why other than these were directed at boys, if that's the only reason, then that's okay for 1985 standards, but for me it still doesn't make sense to not have Gloria and Shark. So, yeah. Series 1. Series 1. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Behind the Mask. I'm Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and I'll talk to you later.